Welcome to Keystroke Live. We're doing end of the year variance today. We kind of do this nearly every year just to give people a reminder and new people a chance to see what this is all about. Our Keystroke Live is every Wednesday, practically every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, same place, same login information. Generally, the first Wednesday of the month is with our president, Michael Gebb. And next week, because it's the day before Thanksgiving, we are not having a Keystroke Live. So we all get a day off. So let's talk about what the variance module is. It really is a way to adjust your quantity on hand for inventory and document that you have done so. You can use it for a physical inventory count, whether it's a full count, by department, something like that. You can use it to account for theft or breakage or spoilage. Some people use it for purchasing, but we really don't recommend that at all. We do recommend using the purchase module for purchasing. And as I said, it's a way to document that you have actually counted. There are various reports that you can do, and it links to accounting to adjust the value of inventory in your accounting package once it's been adjusted in Keystroke. Keystroke has a great help file that is step-by-step instructions, and I'm going to show you that when we get into Keystroke. We also have a PDF that's pretty much the same thing that we'd be happy to send you. Also, another thing that it's good for, because the value of your inventory in Keystroke is constantly changing, and our inventory valuation reports are only good for the exact moment you're running the report. You can use the variance module and autofill to save a snapshot of what your inventory was on a particular date and time. Some people use this for the end of the year or the end of the month, just so they have a snapshot. They can always go back, run a report in the variance module to see what the value of your inventory was on previous dates. When you're first setting up inventory for yourself or for a customer, you want to go into the parameters, and depending on their circumstance, you want to set the parameters locally. You can choose to include allocated or layaway quantities in the quantity on hand, because if you put something on layaway or on a sales order, on the inventory record, it takes it out of the quantity on hand and puts it in allocated or layaway. And you would do that if you do not set aside things that are on sales orders or layaways. You don't set them someplace else. They're still on the shelves. So you would want to include those at that time. If you set things aside in a special area for a sales order and that you're still gathering things up, or for a layaway, and you don't count those when you're doing your inventory count, then you would not choose to include the allocated or layaway. You can also choose to value this variance based on the last cost of the inventory or on the average cost. There are default entry fields. If you're manually entering it, you can tell Keystroke that when you enter an item, automatically go to the quantity field, or you don't have to. If you have serialized items, this is a way to make sure that when you finish with your variance, if you have 10 of an item that is serialized, Keystroke's going to try to make sure there are also 10 serial numbers, or will ask you, hey, there's not enough, there's too many, do you want to fix it? So it makes sure your number of serial numbers matches the quantity on hand. If you're individually scanning items into the variance, there is a merge same items parameter. And there's a number of things it can do. I'm going to show you that in a couple of minutes here. And there's a choice to post items with 0 variance. What 0 variance is Keystroke says you have 5, you go out and you count 5. That's great. You've not had a loss or breakage or anything like that. But you still may want to post those items so you will have a record that, yes, we counted them on this day and it was correct. So, but that's up to you. And there's a parameter that's new in version 8 to check open variances on post. So it'll check when you start a new variance, it'll see if there's any other open variances out there. Because remember, if you have multiple open variances and various people entering information, there can be an issue if they're counting the same items. Say you have your green widget on an end cap someplace, but it's also down on aisle 4. Okay, so Joe is counting the end cap and he counts 20 green widgets. Susie's in aisle 4, she's counting 40 green widgets. If they're doing that on 2 different variances, whichever one gets posted last is what the count is going to be. So that can mess things up. That's why checking open variances when you post to make sure those items aren't on other variances is a great way to go. Whoops. In the variance module also, there's a variance title or description. You can title it full inventory count, or maybe it's just spoilage, or maybe it's the beer department or the book department, whatever. You can give it a title. Keystroke makes it easy, several ways you can enter the items on the variance. Keystroke has an autofill function. It allows you to enter on the variance absolutely every item in your inventory, including bulk or service items if you want to. Or you can do it by department or category or location. The autofill uses a similar filtering feature like the search and replace that I will show you. Always important, remember to save your unposted variance regularly. You know, you're working on it, you're entering quantities, whatever, and you need to go to lunch. Well, save it at that time. Don't just leave it sitting there open without being saved if the power goes out, whatever. You want to make sure to save it so you don't lose anything. For larger locations, data collectors are wonderful. They're little handheld devices with a scanner. You've all probably seen them, whether you've used them or not, or you've seen them in your grocery stores and department stores. You have people just go around scanning items, either scanning every single item or scanning an item, counting them, and putting them in the count. That can save a whole lot of time. So with a large location, it's something definitely to consider. Now, I want to explain the difference between posting a variance and saving it. Saving a variance is just saving your work that's still in progress. Once you've done all your counting and entered all the information, either via a data collector, which is basically just importing a file, or whether you're manually from count sheets or whatever, entering items one at a time, putting in your quantity, whatever. Saving it just saves that. Posting it actually adjusts your quantity on hand. And that's the final step. When you go to post your variance, you may get a message if you have items on that variance. Say you autofilled your variance, everything in the store. And then you go around and you've counted everything, you've entered it, but there's, little pockets of items here and there that you haven't counted. Well, you probably haven't counted them because you don't have them anymore. You don't carry them, you're out of stock, whatever. So for those types of items, Keystroke's smart enough to ask you, what do you want to do with those? You can choose to remove them from the variance. In that case, whatever the quantity on hand is going to remain the quantity on hand. Generally not recommended unless all of those items are already 0 quantity on hand. You can choose to set them to 0. That makes it real easy. Hey, we've counted absolutely everything. We've got these items that say there's 3 here and 2 of this item and 5 of this item, but we don't have them. Let's set them to 0. You can just choose to leave them blank if you like, which is just fine. It just shows that it was there. Or you can cancel and go back and look at those. So what I'd like to do is show you all of this in Keystroke. To get to the variance module, notice down here in the lower left on the, or lower right on the status bar, we're in Database Manager. So you go to the Special menu and you go to Variance. When you go to Variance, it always is going to ask you for a session number. You can put any number you want in there, but generally it's going to be based on the register number. And we only have 1 copy of Keystroke running, so we're going to do a variance. Notice here, there's already a variance in progress, but it's never been posted. This is where you see your unposted variance. Okay, this was back in April, and it never got posted. Well, we probably don't even want to hang on to this. This was months ago, so we're just going to get rid of this. And the way to do that is go to the Variance menu, go to Delete, and we're going to delete this unposted variance so we can start from scratch. So we're going to delete it. It asks you, wants to make sure you want to do this. Okay. So this is what a blank variance looks like. It's whenever you started, it's going to be today's date. We're going to do a full inventory count. This is your title or description of what you're doing. Now, as I said, you can enter things one at a time. I can enter an item. Okay, my ceramic mug. I can leave this here. I can go out and count my mug, and I have 155 of them. Okay, and then I'm going to do another item. Okay, my canvas bag. Well, this can be kind of slow. This is where the autofill or data collectors is all about. So let me show you the autofill. Actually, before we do that, I want to show you the parameters because you want to make sure these are correct. Variance menu parameters. You can choose your entry field, product code, stock number, description. Most people use stock number or description. Here's all the parameters we talked about, including allocated, including layaway, using last cost. You can choose to default the physical quantity to 1 if you'd like. So anytime you put in an item, it adds 1. You can confirm the physical quantity or the variance quantity. That's up to you. Disabling serial numbers. You're merging same lines and checking open variances on post. All these we described, I described a little bit earlier. And whether or not you want to post items with zero variance. Like a lot of our modules in Keystroke, there is a detail box. There's a couple of things available here, and these are customizable if you choose to do so. Once your parameters are set based on the business and how the business runs, then that's the best time to start doing the variance. If you're going to autofill, you can go to your special menu and go to autofill. It brings up a search screen, and you can hit F9 here if there's something particular that you want to filter on, that you're only going to do, say, the book department. We can start with that, our department book. So I'm going to search for the department book and autofill just that. Once you have your criteria in there, you hit F10. It added 8 items. Okay, so if I'm just going to do the book department, okay, this might be a good time to save it. So I've autofilled. I'm closed right now. I'm just going to save this just in case somebody comes along and tries to clear it or something. Then I'm going to go out and count my books. That's great if you're doing department by department and you have small departments. Usually at least once a year, a business is going to do a full inventory count, which is what we started here. So we're going to autofill everything. Now, by default, the autofill is not going to do bulk or service. So we have zeros in here. But we can delete those zeros, and it'll also include your bulk and service items. So I want to fill absolutely everything. Hit F10. It's added another 24 lines, and the service items skipped. We might have to figure that out. So it fills everything. Again, good time to save it, just so we don't lose anything. Now, if you've gone out and counted everything with a data collector, you can go to the special menu and import that file from that data collector. Now, I'm not sure if I have a count.txt file, but let's see. And it can be anything you want. I probably don't, so I'm probably going to get an error that it's not found. No big deal. But a data collector would go through and fill in the physical quantities of some or most of these items. And so you're going to see, you may see pockets of things here that are filled or not filled. The cool thing I want to show you, now let's just assume everything's here. And we're not going to actually post this because I don't, I haven't really counted everything. But here's where Keystroke's smart enough that when you go to post a variance that doesn't have anything in the physical column, here's where it's going to ask you, hey, there's 100+ items where the quantity is blank. What do you want to do with this? You can remove it. You can set them all to 0. Leave them blank. We're just going to cancel and go back to the posted variance screen. Now, I want to show you the help about the variance because it really gives a great, let me share this. it gives, when you're in variance, this is what you come up with, you know, your various variance menus. Then there's the, down at the bottom, step-by-step instructions. This is kind of important. The main thing when you're doing a physical count is you want to make sure you're not going to have any stock movement of what you're counting between the time you're counting and you autofill. Whether you autofill first and then count, or you count and then you autofill. But between those points, you don't want any stock movement. No sales, no purchases, no orders, layaways, none of that. Because otherwise you'd have to take those activities into consideration. Once you've autofilled and counted, then you can open the store as usual and you can do whatever you want. You know, if you have 10,000 items in your store and you have, you know, a stack of count sheets this big that you're going to manually enter, you've got all the time in the world to enter that, and you can go back to opening your store. That's where data collectors can really come in handy. But this step-by-step gives you an idea of how this works. Let's close that and go back to Keystroke here. And let's talk about the reports a little bit. There are 3 types of reports that you can run. One is on the displayed variance. It's basically the one on the screen, which is either one that has not yet been posted, or it's a previous variance that's been posted and you want to look at it again. Maybe you want to check a quantity or you want to change something. There's also a report on the variance transactions. A single variance is like a single invoice. So depending on the date range you put into variance transactions, it's going to show you, okay, on the first of the year, here's all the items I counted. This is what the quantity was. This is how the value of my inventory changed. And then on March 1st, you did another one. So these can be very detailed reports. Like all of our reports, there's, you know, lots of settings that you can change to make it look how you'd like. There are various forms you can use as well. And just like other reports, these forms are editable if you'd like other information. So the various transaction report shows you for a date range you did a variance here, and if you'd like, it shows all the items you did a variance on this date, all the items if you want it detailed. That's what the various transaction report does. The variance history report looks at it from the other angle. It says, okay, I have this inventory item, and in the last year, how many times did I put this item on a variance which says I counted it? So it's going to list this item and going to say it's on this variance, this variance, this variance. It's going to list the next item was on this variance, this variance, this variance. So depending on what you need, it's going to give you the information that you want. Now, I want to show you the snapshot. I'm going to go ahead and clear this variance. I'm going to take it just a snapshot of my inventory of, actually I want to delete this unposted variance. I just want a record within Keystroke of what my inventory says today, right now, that I can refer to next week, next month. So we're going to title this Snapshot. I am going to autofill absolutely everything. And all I'm going to do is post it. We're going to do F10. We're going to post it. We're going to leave all of this blank. This is for your snapshot. So if I leave it blank, and it's saying the items will not be changed. No quantity will be changed, but you're just creating a record of what your quantity on hand is. And we're going to post. Now let me show you, you can always go back to see this by going to your reports, your transaction reports. I want a detailed record, and I want the quantity on hand cost total. That's going to give you the value of your variance. I'm going to print it to the screen for today. It's going to list absolutely everything. You know, I have 134 line items, and this is the value of my inventory. Theoretically, if right now, and I haven't checked this because counts could be off, matrix could be off, if I ran an inventory database report right now and there have been no sales or purchases, the cost value of my inventory should be this. But that inventory database report is only good for right now. Next week, I couldn't say, hey, I want to see what I was worth a week ago. It's not going to work unless you do this. So this is a great way, might be something for your end of month procedures, end of year procedures. Take a snapshot of this. That way you know what your the value of your inventory was. So I want to open this up for questions, and so I'm going to unmute everybody, and I want to see if there's any questions before I kind of review all of this with you.
Carol, I don't know where she ordered them. Okay.
Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Oh, goodness. You guys are quick studies today. So let's review this briefly. I'm not going to go through every point. The variance is used to adjust the quantity on hand of your inventory, whether theft, breakage, physical count, or to take a snapshot. Lots of reporting. The help file is very, very helpful, as we hope it should be. Make sure you look at your parameters before you autofill and start a variance. You can title things, use data collectors. It's going to save you a lot of time. So it's a really valuable tool. It lets you know, what's happening. And actually, I forgot to mention this. There's actually fields on the inventory record that says this was last counted, and this is what we counted on this date. Now, it only saves the last one, but that can be valuable sometime. Any questions?
No.
Well, thanks, everybody. Next week, everybody have a happy holiday, and Michael Gebb will be the week after that. I believe it's the first, maybe it's not the first Monday. I think it's going to be the 30th. So